Hey, home theater nerds, special report. This was supposed to go into my regularly scheduled podcast for Friday. I was only supposed to be a quick interview with Todd of AV Nirvana about Cedia and all the fun he had, and it ended up going an hour and a half, so it's coming out as a special report. Can't wait to get to it, so let's get right to it. Todd from AV Nirvana, Todd Anderson, all the fun from Cedia 2022. Let's get to the show.
This is Brightside Home Theater.
Hey, Todd, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Fun green room conversation we just had.
Yes, sir, we did.
You are a very, very busy man.
I feel like I've been.
Yes, have been and still are. The first thing I said is like, hey, let's talk some CD. You're like, yeah. I go, you got a lot of stuff. And the first thing you said was like, and there's a lot more coming. I was like,
I know. Yeah.
Just go. You just go. I was going to open with what's your favorite, but just go. It was amazing.
Man, what a show. It was a fun show this year. It was good to see all the manufacturers largely back. I do think it may have been a little smaller than the last time I was there, pre-pandemic.
Okay.
My memory of the Dallas Convention Center was a little bit more full than it was this time around, but there was still a really strong presence, and I'll have to check with them on the attendance numbers because it also seemed like it wasn't as packed this time. But there were still a lot of people there. So it was just great to see industry friends, lots of handshakes and hugs and, people that I've known a long time, see them face to face or after, a number of years now. It was just cool. And these are, like we were just talking about, such nice people. They're interesting. They know so much. So it's just great to kind of interact with everybody a little bit behind the scenes and see what's going on, and see them with their products too, which is awesome.
You're killing me. It's like, I couldn't pull it off this year. I had just gone away and I didn't feel right going away yet again, but it's now I don't know the people like you do yet, but I'm starting to meet people and I've had people ask me to go. So wanted me there. And I'm like, just that was like, it's an honor to be nominated thing.
Yeah.
And it would have been great to have been there start that process. And I got to get to it, but it looks like so much fun. I was living vicariously through you and all your videos.
It's crazy. It is like, if you're a 2-channel stereo person, it's really not the environment for you. I mean, there is some of that there, but it's more home theater integrator centric. So, for people who are thinking about maybe paying to go, I think you can pay to go if you're not a Cedia member.
Yeah.
I would keep that in mind. If you're more of a 2-channel guy, go to Expona. Don't go to CES. Even if you're a home theater guy. I mean, I may go to CES this year. I haven't decided, but for me, my money goes to Cedia.
Yeah.
That's my favorite show of the year, hands down. If it's the only thing I go to, I'm more than happy.
I always thought of it like Dreamland.
It's really cool,
right?
Yeah,
it's like because it was always when I always wanted to go. It was always the stuff that you wish you could get, that you dreamed of, right? And
it's all in one place.
It's everything is there, and you just like the Storm Audios, like you said, and Trinov and Kaleidoscape is there, and all of these things that you always dreamed of, and now I'm getting to the point where it's like in my life where I can actually have the funds for maybe some of these things, and I'm like, but back in the day,
it's a dangerous place if you're a shopper. Look out! Yeah, it'll snag you. It's happened to me.
I know.
You walk in somewhere and you're like, oh man, I wish I hadn't seen that. But I mean, that's part of the fun, right?
Right. Yeah, it is.
So I started off a day before the show. I had some appointments on the Cedia show floor, which was kind of interesting.
I
Um,
saw that.
you
You were
would,
there before while they were setting up.
yeah, yeah. So I got in there, and I would say it was about half set up, and it was just a crazy environment. Literally, small trucks driving around. Everything's beeping. The floor is rumbling. The concrete was visible. So when you're at this show, the convention center lays carpet
Mhm.
down, and it looks really seamless. So everything is, the square footage of each booth or showcase area is bordered by carpet. So it's a really nice environment to be in. But man, you go early, and there's guys like rolling wallpaper up on things and people running around like crazy. It was it was interesting,
Yeah.
to say the least. I had never gone in that early before, and I think a lot of those
Oh.
guys were burning the midnight oil.
Oh, yeah.
They were going to be in there till like 3, 4 a.m.
I used to
Uh,
do,
getting ready.
I used to do World of Wheels and the different car shows up here when I was working for the company I used to work for, doing what I do, fixing bumpers in cars
Hmm.
and little spot repairs. And talk about burning the midnight oil. Same thing. I'd be in
Yeah,
there the night before it opened. I'd get there at like 6 o'clock at night and I'd work until about 6 a.m. chasing around different and just billing these people. And they were like, "Oh, we got a scratch on this car. We got a little chip on this car. We got it because these are show cars, right?"
right.
And I couldn't get my truck in there, which I work out of. So I have my air compressor on a little dolly and I'm pulling everything around, doing this, going out to my truck, mixing paint. And that's where I got to work on the 89, the 1989 Batmobile.
Oh, wow,
Yeah, front bumper.
very.
Yeah, the front, that big, you know how the design of it, right?
Oh, for
Well,
sure. Yeah.
when they pulled that thing out, it hit the ramp and it scuffed the whole bottom of it. And they're like, "Can you fix this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's flat black, no problem." I was like,
I
"Ah,
can't even imagine the panic that must have gone through their heads.
oh yeah." And we were getting all the money back then too, because they were just like, "Whatever, just bill us, okay?" And my boss is like, "Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching." Watch it. I didn't get
That's
the money.
awesome.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And this was all before iPhones and stuff. So I've got
So
no pictures, nothing.
you
I
couldn't
got
take anything.
nothing.
Yeah.
I was too busy to be honest. If I had a phone, the iPhone, I would have been like,
I
taking pictures and stuff. But
know.
to bring a camera, I would have had to bring a camera and do all that. And I'm like, no. So, but yeah, I
Right.
know I've been behind those scenes plenty of times, and
Yep.
it is crazy. It is crazy when you see what goes on ahead of time. That's why I thought it was cool you were there so early. And
Yeah. Yeah. I actually went from there. I went out about half an hour away to a integrator in Dallas. His name's Steve Elliston. I think it's called Steve Elliston Design.
Mhm.
And there was an event there with Keith Yates,
Yeah, yeah.
who is the legendary home
Mhm.
theater designer. So I got to meet him and one of his partners. And Steve Elliston has a Keith Yates designed theater room in his showroom. So I got to experience that, which was a lot of fun. And
What was
they have a
that
whole.
like?
It's really cool. I mean, it's got the walls that are kind of like cloth but see through. They turn lights on
Mhm.
because he doesn't have hard walls in his room.
Mhm.
He uses full cabinet speakers on the sides that are so the lights come on, you can see them buried behind
That's what I wanna do
uh,
in mine. Yep.
the cloth. It's very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my understanding is that he did not design this theater from scratch. It was a room that was there, and he was brought in back in, I think they said Cedia 20. Let's see, that would have been 2016 or 2016, to soup it up
Mhm.
and get it ready for prime time for some demos. Uh, but so it's really cool. I'm actually hoping that I might be able to get him on a live stream with me because I talked to him for about an hour.
Who's this, Keith
Just
Yates?
Yeah, just one on one,
Yeah.
and he was telling me these awesome stories about clients of his and the experiences that they've gotten from just having his theater in their home.
Mm.
And it's just not like, oh, it's so cool. It's wow. It's things like, how it brought their family together, how they've raised their kids in these rooms. One guy, he creates these rooms that have like no noise floor. So you go in, it is literally dead quiet.
Yeah.
Can't hear anything. And this one guy, his wife just goes and sits in there for like an hour every night
Mm-hmm.
just to meditate.
Yeah.
Nothing's even on. So it was some really fun behind the scenes kind of
Yeah.
chit chat. He's a very interesting, he comes off across kind of intense, but he's got a light side and
yeah.
a really good smile. Yeah, he's a very, very interesting cat. I'll tell you that. He gave a presentation to the group that was there. So really fun stuff to see that. And then I went back and I got to go in early and hear the Trinov system on the show floor that evening, which was also just totally cool.
Yeah.
Travis Ballstadt did a feature on that for us on our channel. So there was a company there from Europe that built a room, self-contained room that was much different than anything else on the Cedia floor. And it's just the whole experience was fantastic. In fact, they hadn't quite dialed everything in yet, DJ. And the bass was so intense that they had a Seymour screen, acoustically a transparent screen,
and it was moving.
That was just like moving. Yeah, they just hadn't had time to get it all dialed in yet, and they were like, "It's going to be perfect tomorrow. Come on back." But yeah, and on the outside of this room, they had a wall of Macintosh gear. There must have been.
I saw that wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. There's like 18 pieces of gear. It was like 500 grand in gear alone there. So yeah, so lots of. It was just really cool to kind of see some of that stuff coming together, and to meet Keith Yates was an honor. I mean, he's such a legend. Was not expecting to get to chit chat with him like that, but
yeah, I've seen his. Was it when he started working with Kaleidoscape with their announcement? I saw a video or something on YouTube with him and one of his engineers, I think, and they were talking about that noise floor, and he used he used a quiet scene from a movie, and he goes, and you're watching this scene and you're supposed to, and this is the engineer talking, and he's like, and you're supposed to be sucked into this movie, and you're getting and all of a sudden you hear a toilet flush.
Right.
And he's
that's my house.
Right. Well, and I remember when I designed my theater and I thought of stuff like that, but I just didn't have the wherewithal and the knowledge that I have now, of how to create that separation in your room. But if you can lower the noise floor in your theater, you can create that. Actually is like better than getting more amplification, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like contrast.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the darker your blacks are, the more vibrant your picture is going to be. It's just a simple fact.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. I'd love to see one of his multi-million-dollar theater builds. I'd love to go hang out in one. But the chances of that happening are zero. So
maybe someday.
Unless I build one myself someday. If I ever win the lottery, that guy is getting hired. I can tell you that.
Oh God, yeah. So I asked this. I asked this of Brett Butterworth, and I want to ask you. After going to Cedia, I have to know ahead of time before I get to go. Does it kind of ruin your experience in your theater at home? You have a really nice theater, though. But
I do. But I still love mine. Yeah. Yes and no. Because you have to remember, some of these demo rooms are just compromised environments, right? So you hear some really good stuff, but it's not. I don't know if it's quite as dialed in as it could be.
Okay.
Some are. There was this one room. Modulus Systems, it's a manufacturer of micro LED, like super high-end micro LED panels, and they had a Wisdom audio setup, and it just it crushed me. It was so good. I didn't want to leave the room. Oh. It just sounded so amazing. And I did a little feature on that particular system. But I came home and definitely went down to kind of hear my system again and play back some of the clips that I had seen there. And my biggest takeaway is that just the space that some of these demo rooms have.
Yeah.
You can't recreate that in a normal room in your house.
You mean
So
the size of them?
just the size,
expanse, like,
yeah, you have a roof that's like 12, 13 feet tall. You
oh,
have walls that are pushed out a little bit more than what you might have in a
right.
normal space in a typical house. So that space is just hard to really recreate.
In a
Even
normal
with
home.
with diffusion and things, I guess you could probably get a little more out of a space, but yeah, but
But
it is tough. I mean, you do see some gear, particularly the projection systems.
mm,
They are just they're so dialed in. JVC ran their NZ9.
yeah.
I'm telling you, DJ, and I can't remember how big the screen was. It was I want to say it was like 240 inches,
Oh my God. Now,
but crazy. Like
yeah.
that was the best in terms
Now,
of projection systems.
mm,
That was the best I saw. Christie usually has these huge demo spaces open. They didn't this time for some reason. The Christie projector
yeah.
systems
Christie's,
and
Barco's, they're usually the bigger screens, right?
yeah. And the last time I was at Cedia, Christie had one, and the screen I forget. I mean, the screen was so massive, and it's just you just walk out of there and you're like, I don't even know how to process what I just saw.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make sense that something could look that good. But
Right.
JVC and Sony, they have their higher end. JVC didn't have their very top tier, but um, you know,
Well,
those systems look crazy.
isn't
It's
that
just
top?
mind blowing.
Isn't the top JVC the 30,000? Isn't that just only a top because it gets the label of the 30? There's only 30 of them.
Yeah,
for the anniversary.
the new.
It's basically an NZ9 with badging, isn't it? Something like that.
I think
25.
that I think they actually have one that's like 80 grand though.
JVC does?
I think so.
I've never heard of that. And I just talked about that in Tuesday's podcast that I've never heard of a JVC over that. I know Sony does. Sony has their big, they have their higher end, but I've never heard of that.
I thought a couple years ago they came out, they finally brought out their fluorescent laser from commercial use and they deployed it. Maybe the NZ9 now is wrapped into that and they've lowered the price point. I'll have to go back and look through my old notes and see
Yeah, I've never seen that.
see what it is. But yeah, so the NZ9's 25 grand
25.
and their new limited edition, it's only 25 units.
25 of them, yeah, for the 25th anniversary or something like that. It gets the badging, but isn't that basically an NZ9? Maybe it has one feature or something.
It's an NZ. Okay, so what it is, it's an NZ9, and the way JVC works, as you go up in tiers, they get more selective for their imaging chips. So they test everything, and they reserve the very best functioning chips for their top tier projector, and then it goes down from there. So with this 25th anniversary, they're saying that these chips are like the creme de la creme. In fact, you get a plaque with a DILA chip mounted in it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's some like trim that's different on it.
Yeah.
It's got like platinum trim. I mean, it looks very slick for sure. But yeah, so you're basically getting guaranteed that you're getting the very best imaging chips. The optics are their best. It's the 100 millimeter 18 whatever optic lens set that they run on their high end projectors. So, and then Chris Deering will calibrate it for you.
Yes, I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for like the best of the best, I mean, he's obviously somebody that knows a little something about a little something.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, for my own credibility and to help my listeners out. Maybe I'm wrong. The gentleman you met, John, that came up to you at Cedia.
John Brock?
Yep, John Brock. He was on my podcast. He has
Okay.
an NZ8 in hand, on order. I'm sorry.
That's what I just bought myself.
I know we're gonna get to that, right? So he's excited for that, but it was delayed or something. But then he was like, maybe I should buy an NZ9. And long story short, I tried to talk him out of it because I was like, I don't think in my opinion, going from an 8 to a 9 in a normal room like ours, I don't know if he's going to get much benefit out of that because of, like you said, the NZ9 is for a 240-inch screen, shot from a further. It's all going to be dialed down to turn into an NZ8 anyways. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So here's my take from folks behind the scenes that I've talked to. Look, I mean, if you can afford it,
10 grand difference.
Personally, I would just go get it. And like, if like money's no object, that's what I would just buy. I would be like, okay, NZ9, it's coming in. I mean, the contrast ratio, like the imaging chips are, just as a little step up above the NZ8, which are already, highly selective from JVC. So you get that, you get the slightly better optics, but like you're saying, you really need a big screen to take advantage of that. I don't know what John's screen size is.
I got to imagine it's right around what we're talking, like 150, around a normal big room.
Yeah.
Not these 240-inch screens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. My understanding is that the NZ8, in terms of, light output, it's a notch down. But contrast is also a notch down, just the native contrast of the ability of the chip. So, I mean, you might get a little bit better of a picture, but I personally didn't think it was like worth paying all the extra cash for.
And that's what I was saying. I'm like, that 10 grand difference, you'd be better served with, and we'll get to this in a bit, a video processor. Putting that in line. And then I think you would get a bigger bump in picture quality than you would going from an 8 to a 9.
Yeah, but I'll say this, DJ. If you can afford the NZ9, you probably can just afford the video processor too. So
right,
the co-founder of MadVR said to me, like a video processor can make a good projector great. Can make a great projector greater, right? So anything that you're adding on, you're already talking about the NZ9. And John, I know you're out there listening to this, or at least I hope you are. You and I both saw the same demo at JVC. They were running that NZ9 without a video processor. I believe it was running their new firmware update that has the new frame adapt, it has new frame adapt firmware, but it also has the new laser dimming control features. It was just like crazy how good this image looked. I mean, it was something else. So I don't know. I mean, it really comes down to budget.
Right. Well, I don't think you've heard his podcast. We talked for a while, John and I, and I highly recommend listening to that podcast because he has an amazing story that he's been through in his just trying to get a home theater. It started in a house in California, and now he's in Texas. So it's just like he's had house fires, floods, issues.
Oh,
yes. Man. You got to hear it. But
I'm so far behind in my podcast.
Oh, I know.
Told you. I know. But I got to catch up.
But in my podcast isn't easy to catch up on. They're like 3 hours long, buddy.
Long, yeah, exactly.
but the listeners coming on are fantastic, and they all have similar but different stories. But John's is a very unique one in that the guy can stay so positive through, like, literally, like, we all, like, if you had to move and you got to build a new theater, you'd be like, oh man, but he's just been like, oh, I've been doing this, and I joked with him later on. I'm like, do you know what a budget is? Because he just keeps adding more stuff. And it's like, that's why I'm saying, he's like, oh, what do you think of an NZ9? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think if the budget is no object, I would just get it. I mean, it's a world beater.
I think it's an object.
Regarded as one of the best ever made. So
yeah.
But NZ8, like you said, you save a lot of money, and you're going to get really close.
Yeah, very, very.
You're going to get really close to.
I know.
And you were so. Let's dive into that a little bit, because when I first texted you and said, I'm thinking, I had already made up my mind that I was going to buy this thing.
I know you did.
So some of the cool things about the new series is they faster startup and shut off times with the laser.
Yep.
It's brighter. So if you need the brightness,
it's there.
It's just brighter.
Yep.
This project. So I'm jumping from the NX7 to the NZ8. It's just the optics. I believe the optics are the same. They're all glass, but the NZ8 has a coating on them for better contrast. You also have faster switching between sources. So when you have a 4K source, and I don't know if your projector does this, like with Kaleidoscape, when you go from the menu to a movie.
It's ridiculous because
there is a delay.
With the Lumagen in line, mine's just like, the Lumagen has helped it out a little bit. Especially when I went to all my video switching now is done through my Lumagen. And I have one audio just to my Marantz, and that's it. And then, so the Lumagen kind of smooth. That's okay.
I'm sorry. That's my dog. Hang on.
I hope it's your dog.
She's our 60-pound house
big.
protector. Do you want me to pause and get her upstairs?
No, that's all right.
She's, I think she might be barking for a few minutes.
That's funny.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. There you are. You froze for a second. It's killing you. Why don't you? I'll pause. You go move her because it's killing you.
Yeah, hang on one second.
We'll go to the green room here. That's so funny. Throw a sound in there so that I know when to mark it and move it. Actually, did that sound work? Oh, there it is.
Oh, man.
That's weird.
You can still hear her?
Yeah. That's okay.
She's upstairs now. She's very protective of our house. She's only a year old.
I have 3 dogs, and they're very protective. It's brutal. One goes, and then they all go.
This one hears like one sound, and it's just like she might bark for like the next 5 minutes. So
it's all right. I'll try to do most of the talking.
But I forget what we were talking. Oh, the switch. Yeah. So the switching is a lot faster with HDMI 2.1.
Yes, that's a big factor that I wanted to pull the trigger pretty quickly because of that, because that's
a big factor.
It is, but that is nice. The 2.1 across the board, it makes everything go smoother, and it is a really nice feature. And
it's like little luxury things. I think the bump up in overall image quality, comparably speaking, is slight. If you read like Chris Deering's review
from
of
the 7 to the 8,
from the NX7 to the NZ8. If you read Chris Deering's review of the NZ9, he digs into that a little bit. Like he had a NX9. Was it NX9? NX7, NX9, NX8?
I think they had 8. I think.
8, yeah.
I get them all mixed up too.
Yeah. So whatever that top tier, whatever was above the NX7, he said that it's notable, but it's not. If that's the only thing you're going for, you could hold off, purchasing. And it also has the NZ8 has this 8K 4-way pixel shifting, which I probably won't use. But I will say this, and I mean the JVC presentation, they shifted into a true 8K image, and you have to be close to the screen, right, to take advantage of 8K.
Yeah,
it was pretty freaking stunning.
Yeah, but it is stunning. I say that as I believe you. I've never seen 8K in person, but I know going from 1080 to 4K, and now I can't on my screen. Now I only have 110, but I remember dialing in my 1080 and you can see the pixels, right? You could actually see the grid. If you put a white screen up, an all white screen, you could actually see the little squares. It looked like a very, very small screen window, right?
Yep.
And you could see
Yep.
that.
For
Now,
sure.
when I could see that, all you got to do to imagine 4K is take that one little square and divide it into 4 little squares. And now that's 4K. I can't see those anymore on my screen. When I go to an all-white screen, I can't make out those little pixels like I could before. But now you're going to take that one pixel that I can't even see now and turn it into 4 more, even smaller. You know what I mean? So it's like 8K to me is like, do you see an advantage of it? Or is that just the new, we're going to have it. I'm not opposed to it, but isn't it going to be more in the realm of their progression of HDR and implementation? Isn't that what we should be looking forward to?
I think, and a lot of that's going to get paired with 8K, unfortunately. So 4K is going to get left behind because all the new tech, all the best processors are going to go into 8K gear, and they're going to force your hand. You're going to have to buy 8K, just to get access to that. But so here I've seen quite a bit of 8K content in the last few months at the flat panel TV shootout up in New York City.
Yep.
And those were 85-inch TVs. And from the seating distance that I was at during a lot of that event, it was hard to say, like, yeah, the 4K TV didn't look as good as the 8K TV.
Right.
But when you get within 3 feet of the screen, it just doesn't even look real. The 8K content, you're like, I can't believe how amazing this looks. I actually took my phone and went up. I took a photograph about 4 inches away from the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have put that on Twitter.
I think you did. And you were like, this is an 8K TV and you said the distance stuff.
It's just like a couple inches away. It is mind blowing.
Right.
How smooth and how detailed the image is. And there's some other factors that are involved. There's something called contrast. I think it's contrast modulation, CM. It's a measurement of how much color and brightness bleed goes from 1 pixel to the surrounding 8 surrounding pixels. So you might see a 8K TV that has really bad CM. I think LG originally was reporting they had like 90% CM. So, and that's really good. So 0 is bad, 100 is really good. So, there are other factors that will start to play into how good the image looks, but big screen and you're close, it's crazy. It really is crazy. And you can't get close to a 4K TV and maintain that semblance of realism like you can with an 8K source. Now, then again, how often are you sitting that close?
Right. Exactly.
I'll be honest with you. When I get this projector up and going and I turn on this 8K E-shift to see if it improves the image, I'll tell you, if I'm expecting to be like, I don't need it, and I'll just run with 4K because I love 4K as it is. But who knows? With JVC, whatever they were doing, because their screen size was so big, it was crazy. I mean, it was just mind blowing. I guarantee you, if you'd been standing there, you would have walked out just shaking your head like, man, that was insane. Because it was. So, in general, though, I agree with you, DJ. 8K, you don't need to. Nobody should be running out and buying an 8K TV right now.
No, there's not even any content yet. I mean, I'm starting to see dribbles and drabs of it, but it's all like what we had before when 4K first came out. It's all the nature stuff.
It's like YouTube 8K, and then you have video games, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a gamer and you want to sit a foot or two away from your 70-inch screen, knock yourself out. I mean,
you literally will knock yourself in.
You literally will. Make me feel sick personally, but
it's like, see, I think, and I've said this before, I think where 8K is going to really be a benefit is in shooting 8K cameras, 16K cameras, where you can shoot something and then from doing your videos how close you can zoom in when in your editing process and stuff.
Right.
The bigger the file you have, there's so much more you can do. That's where I think that's going to go. And on our end as a consumer, I think that's just the new marketing number, which I'm not opposed to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting them down for that. They have to find a way to sell these things.
Well,
And
it puts a lot of people off, though. I mean, we had some forum members who were really upset about 8K getting featured at the flat panel TV shootout this year. You know,
yeah, but that's the thing.
I don't feel that way, but
I don't either. And I think were they older people? I think like people like my parents and stuff, they were like, I bought a TV in the 1970s. It should have lasted me the rest of my life. We're of that generation where like, and especially in this hobby, we're like, where's the next one? I mean, you're literally setting up, you haven't even set up your new JVC, but I'm sure you're like, well, you know, I mean, I would like another one someday soon. You know, like,
I hope not.
Well, let's get to that, because you're about now. You got two products, and you texted me, and I made my recommendation on which one first.
Yep.
Go ahead. What's the next one that you're going to be getting in as a demo? Am I correct?
Well, yeah. So Mad VR and I are going to hook up for a review coming up.
Did you ask, like, when you're getting this? Did you say, "Can I pay for it?" Because you're going to want to keep it.
No, I never would do that in a million years. I have to experience it first, and I can tell you that I know it's going to be incredible.
Well, you've had a demo, right? You've seen it in action.
I'm totally prepared to be blown away. And like I've told you, I think that JVC's Frame Adapt has totally been revolutionary for everyone, and especially people who don't want to spend extra, or who don't want the hassle, or who don't care about the techie stuff that Illumigen or Mad VR can bring in. So the picture's already really good, and it will be fun to play around with it. There's a new, they have this new lip sync feature that they're rolling out with, right now it's with Trenov and Accurus and Storm Audio.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to play around with.
Do you have an issue with lip sync in your theater?
Occasionally.
Have you? I've
Yeah.
knock on wood, I don't think I've experienced it. I mean, I don't, yeah. I haven't had that.
It's a rarity, and it happens with my Kaleidoscape. It's never happened on disc.
Really?
So, and I don't know if it's a handshake issue between my Kaleidoscape and my Storm processor or what. But on a rare occasion, it's just like 20, 30 milliseconds off. It's easy to fix. I have a little app. I just do a little slider. But I'm very curious to play around with that feature and see if it really works. So, so that's the other cool thing that Mad VR is doing. They have this new NV certified program, and they're getting processor and AVR manufacturers who want to participate. They basically send their gear into Mad VR, and they put it through, I think he said 1,100 video tests.
Oh wow!
Right now they have Accurus, Storm, and Trenov are all certified.
Yep.
And one of those manufacturers told me that they actually had to make some improvements to their firmware to get certified.
Oh, nice.
So this is no joke. I mean, that's already gear that is super high level at passing through the purest of signals. Not to knock, what the Marantzes and Onkios of the world are doing, because they also do an incredible job. But the Trenov and Storm, they go super high level in terms of the chips that they use and whatnot. So to hear one of those guys come out and say, "Yeah, we actually had to make some tweaks," shows you that this is not, it's not a joke.
No,
Mad VR is pretty serious.
Yeah, it's high end stuff, and
it is.
You're only as good. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And
exactly.
If when you get higher up and you're running, that's where it comes in. When you get into your Macintosh amps and other things, that's where you're going to start to notice the difference between what we consumers have in our normal theaters. But it's I understand it, and I can appreciate it. As you get,
Yeah, it's
as
pretty
you
cool
get
that
up
they're
there, it
doing it.
is. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's good to see. When I first saw it announced, I was like, "Is this kind of THXy where people will come and pay you?" You know,
Right.
to I mean, that came out the wrong way. THX, what they do is cool because it does give consumers the knowledge that what they're buying meets certain standards.
Right.
Right? You get a THX certified subwoofer, you know that that thing is going to be kicking it, and it's
Yeah.
not going to bottom out. It's going to push hard to certain levels in certain size rooms and whatnot. But it is something that people pay for, right?
Yeah.
To go through that certification process. And my understanding is that's not happening with Mad VR. I could be wrong about that. Someone can
Yeah.
hit you
Well-
up and correct me. But
I mean, what's good about all of this certification stuff, it's like, I mean, we're lucky enough, and I always phrase it this way. We're lucky enough to have the term reference level in home theater because
Yeah.
it allows us, like, if I hear something at reference level in my theater and my room's calibrated to reference level, it should be relatively the same in your theater.
Yes.
It's now there are going to be differences, of course, but at least you're getting some consistency. And then the idea of like a THX certified, it gives you a level of consistency. You buy a
Yes.
THX certified, you know what it entails, and the same idea here. And I think we need to see more of that. The music industry has like none of that. One CD could be louder than another CD. I mean, there's no reference or anything.
Yeah. Totally.
You put on a CD and it'd be like, it could blast your ears out, and then go on iTunes. It's the same thing. It's like, and I remember from the days when I used to listen constantly, and you're constantly playing with the volume dial.
Sure.
We're trying to get a little bit more of that. And it's nice to see, like, even Mad VR, which is about picture, they're trying to get a consistency here for the consumer, especially, and even this is clearly a high-end consumer, but they're trying to bring a quality here, a level of consistency for everybody so that they know what they're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. It's unfortunate that it's so expensive. Although, I mean, they do have a step down product. I think it maybe is around $8,000. Is that right?
Is that the Envy, the straight out Envy?
The Envy?
Yeah, something like
Somewhere
that.
in that range.
You can find them for that, yeah. For that. And
Yeah.
you were saying, what is it? The Envy Extreme. And you were mentioning the other day, you were saying it had future proof of like on-board, off-board process. You can change out the boards
modular
and stuff.
system.
Modular.
That's exactly
what it was.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a lot like Trenov and Storm Audio. NAD has a lot of modularity built in. So
now,
that's very cool that they're doing that.
Yeah. Now I had a listener ask me about that, and he's in the market. And correct me if I'm wrong, but here was my advice. He was like, at $17,000 for the Extreme, he's like, that's a lot of money. He's like, I need this to last like 5 to 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, in my opinion, in this world, in tech, I don't expect anything, including a Mad VR with a modular system, to last more than 5 years, because you don't know. And you just come from Cedia. You saw the panel systems that they have coming, the LED, all, who knows what we're going to be running 5 years from. Projectors might be obsolete. All of this, you don't know. I'm not saying they will be, but to think, I just have a hard time thinking something could last that long.
Yeah, I would take the opposite opinion on that. I think with what Mad VR is doing, I think it will be upgradable unless the processor. Well, I mean, my understanding is that you can even swap out the processor.
Yeah,
I think that they are building it so the next iteration of HDMI comes out, you can swap that in and out.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, to your question. A lot of that depends on the longevity of the company.
I think also, like we were saying about the JVC before, going from an 8 to a 9. If you can afford it, I highly recommend it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, but if you have doubts, or if you're like, if this is a budget thing and you're like, I would recommend, I would hate for you to get something like this and 6 years down the road have it be completely obsolete. And now what are you going to? There's nothing you can
I
do
agree.
about it. And there is other options, like you said. Mad VR has a step down. The Lumagen is cheaper. There are other options to get similar performance, at least tone mapping wise.
Oh yeah, buy a Panasonic UB820 and let that do the tone mapping for your TV or projector.
Yeah, that does an optimization, but it's not like running a
It's not
video processor.
right, but I'm saying like
Right.
if you're having trouble with HDR,
Right.
on your display,
Yeah.
do something like that. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you and I are on the same page about budgets. I never think anyone should go out and like max out their credit cards on this stuff.
No.
Because you can get a great experience with inexpensive gear.
Yes.
It's all about setup.
That's how we
But,
started.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
you work
totally.
your way up, and it's like, and that's how you know the difference. That's how I've learned the differences in all of these things.
Yeah.
The one thing about the Mad VR and how I ended up with the Lumagen is because exactly like you said, I had the 820. I saw how good that image looked. But
Mhm.
then when I would go to Apple TV and I'm seeing the crushing go on and the darker scenes and stuff, and I don't have anything that can take care of that.
Right.
Getting that Lumagen or getting a Mad VR, and Carl, who was on the podcast on Tuesday, he had his installed. He had a Mad VR installed on Saturday, and he's like, what blew him away was what it can do for Apple TV. All of your other, you're basically getting, you're getting above and beyond Dolby Vision on the 6 o'clock news. You're getting it on everything. And that's
Sure.
what these video processors can do. And you really can't compare that to anything else because how it
you
takes
can't.
care of everything in your system, video wise.
Yeah. I talked to Richard Latowski pretty candidly about a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, and he was assuring me that the processor in their box just will destroy anything that's out there, even the high end like Sony, whatever their new chips are, and their
Like
XDR chips in their new OLEDs.
I wanted to get to that. I loved that you put that out. One of the reasons you and I are sitting down talking right now is because I felt like I was the only voice in the forest. I love a Lumagen. I love a Mad VR. I love these things for OLEDs and stuff, but people were like, nah, you don't really need that. And you mentioned it. Now, Mad VR is more powerful. I'll say that. But
yeah, need is all relative. Now, the super high end Sony TVs are their tone mapping is like off the charts. But that Lumagen, like we said before, it can take a good projector and make it great. It can make a great TV just insane, right? So you're already at a high level when you're buying those super top of the line OLEDs from Sony. I mean, they're the best in class. But yeah, you're right. You can make it better. You definitely can make it better.
Right. Because what I was hearing is people were telling me, no, that it does not make it better. Not that you don't need it. And you're right. You don't need any of this stuff. But it does have an improvement. It does improve your picture. There is a value there to adding this to any display. And I was so happy to see you say that. I was like, yes, somebody else that knows more than me.
Well, the demos that I saw of Mad VR were on an OLED, a new OLED. So, and when I review this product, I'll get more educated about all the techie talk, and we can talk about it then. But my understanding is that even when it comes to processing HDR tone mapping, that TVs will average out over sections of a picture for tone mapping, whereas that Mad VR processor is so good it gets like right down to the pixel level.
To the pixels, right.
So everything is just when it comes to HDR, the sharpness of the highlights are just so over the top. And they showed me quite a few clips from the Spears and Munsell discs. Those are reference clips that calibrators use. And the detail that the Mad VR was pulling out of the image on that OLED, it was really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's have you seen um are you watching, is it Rings of Power? Right?
no, not
Have
yet.
we so you know the scene we're talking about though? Have you seen the videos of it on YouTube? Vincent Tio did one. Uh
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've not seen them. I've seen the chatter about them.
and what was happening, what I was fascinated by watching Vincent Tio's is like he showed what happens, and I'm like, because I saw the scene. John and I talked about it in last week's podcast, and I was like, he asked me, he goes, "What? How was it?" I'm like, "It was beautiful. I loved the scene, but I have the Lumigen in line, and now I'm seeing what happens." Vincent Teal laid it out perfectly. He's like, your TVs are doing that like for a scene, and as the darker scenes play on, your screen is getting darker and darker, and by the time you get to that dark scene at the end with a dragon, everything is gone. It's like because
Right,
it's all washed out
right,
because it's doing it. It might be doing frame by frame, but it's doing that individual frame and just like. But the video processors, like you said, are doing pixel by pixel.
right.
So they're like, okay, I need this pixel to be this bright. And I was like, I'm watching Vincent Tio, and I'm thinking he's got that $30,000 or 30 pound whatever reference monitor.
Yeah,
Sony reference monitor. I'm going,
the BVM.
my screen kind of looks like that.
Yeah,
And they're saying these OLEDs are crapping out. And what I thought was funny is Vincent Tio does this video. 75% of it is like, why are they producing stuff like this? And then the last 25% tells you how to correct your TV so it'll play correctly.
right. Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, wait a minute, don't blame the producer. They're artists. They're trying to push the envelope. Let them do it.
right.
And it's like your display needs to be able to handle this. And it's like there was a little bit of an argument there. It was all good natured, but I was like, I'm good with people pushing the envelope like that. Even before when I watched episode 3 of season 8, The Long Night, I didn't have a Lumigen then, and I still enjoyed the scene. It
On
was
Game of Thrones.
on Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
oh yeah, well, I always mix those up. I don't know which one it was, but
I know which one you're talking about.
House of the Dragon. That's the one that we're
Yeah,
talking.
House of the Dragon. Yeah,
House
I've
of the
not.
Dragon
I'm gonna wait until I can
Yes.
binge watch it.
on
Yeah,
oh,
or probably disc. If it comes out on disc, I'm assuming it's coming out on disc.
yeah, House of the Dragon, it has been announced that it's coming out
Okay.
on disc, and
Yeah.
it's the Rings of Power that we're speculating, and you actually you got my confidence up there on that one when we were talking about it on Twitter
I
about
think
them.
it's gonna. I mean,
Well, Jack Ryan just came out too,
yeah.
and that's what you
the
said.
money's there. They're gonna do it.
Yeah,
There's
Jack
no
Ryan,
reason why they won't.
and I like that Jack Ryan just came out, so we have seasons 1, and I'm watching that on Kaleidoscape. By the way, I'm going to be talking about it with John.
Oh, awesome.
It's really good.
Sweet.
It's really good. All right, what else do you have from Cedia that really jumped out at
Oh
you?
man, you know what I really liked was the new receivers from Marantz and Denon.
Oh yeah,
They have new flagship
Yep.
receivers. It's the Marantz has the AV10,
Mhm.
and I believe Denon is the AH1. These are new price levels for them. The Marantz is now at $7,000. If you can believe
That's the
that.
processor, right? The pre-pro.
That
at
is
$7,000?
the AVR.
Oh,
I
is
believe
it?
it's an AVR 15.4. It's got 4 dedicated subwoofer outs.
Mm-hmm.
The Denon version is like $500 cheaper. It's also 15.4, and they looked great. The styling on the Marantz is just gorgeous.
I just
And,
got mine, and I'm like, it'll be so nice to sell that and get the upgraded one. When they come out, they haven't announced the pre-pros. I thought that was one. I thought that 7,000 was the pre-pro, but
I believe I think that is the AVR
Okay.
version. And they have an amp that I think the pre-pro may have been announced also.
okay.
These are 2 videos I haven't released yet. I have them. I interviewed both people from both companies. So maybe they said something and I just don't remember it, which is very possible.
John Brock knows. It happens to me. People tell me things, and thank you very much. But I'm listening. I'm watching the movies.
I was talking to them after lunch, which I did not have any lunch that first day, and I was exhausted, and everything was just like a blur. But I liked those products a lot, and I absolutely love the fact that they're bringing Dirac on board. That is huge.
I think it's
across
huge.
The board.
Exactly. I agree with you. I'm an Odyssey fan myself. I find it more, I haven't used Dirac, but from what everybody has told me, it seems to be more hands-on, a little bit more, you've got a little bit more work to do. Whereas Odyssey is kind of like you just set your mic and I leave the room, let it run. Right. I do my 8 positions. Dirac's a little bit more like I want to be more like in the weeds with it.
A little bit more. It takes a little bit more, to run it.
But what I find interesting is this the first time you've had both? Or you might have the opportunity to have both on one processor? You know what I mean?
Well, both Odyssey
and Dirac, yeah.
And Dirac, yeah. So Pioneer and Onkyo offer, the name of their auto calibration software is slipping my mind now, but it's MCACC for Pioneer and Onkyo. What is it?
Yeah,
EQ, I think it's called.
Yep.
So I believe that they offer that with Dirac, but those two are nowhere near the level of Odyssey. Let's just get that out there right now. I mean,
right.
Odyssey's great. XT32 is phenomenal. I agree with you. Dirac, I've used both. Dirac creates a better image, in my opinion, but what's not even comparable is the base module that you can buy to add on to Dirac Live.
Okay.
That just destroys anything that Odyssey can do. And if you upgrade to Dirac, you got to get the base module when it becomes available. And I was told by people from Denon, we're not sure if that's going to happen. I was told by the Marantz crowd, it's coming. We're just ironing out the details. They're both Sound United brands, obviously. I think it's going to happen for both. And that, to me, is probably even bigger than just having Dirac Live, is getting the base module on there. And if you ever experience it, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. It'll take bass from your room and just make it insane. It's so good.
I really like the bass in my room now.
You're
telling me it can get better?
It'll take it to the next level. What it does is it takes it to the next level outside of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So not only is it good in your middle, it's good on the sides. It's good when you walk toward the front of your room. It's good when you move to the back. It's crazy. It's very, very cool stuff. So that, to me, is just huge for Marantz and Denon. Sound United in general, bringing that on board was a necessity because, Onkyo and Pioneer, they were crushing it by bringing that along. And it makes me wonder what Yamaha is going to do. They've got their YPOW and it's okay. And they added some bass control in this year, but it's not Dirac okay. Dirac is a world beater for a reason. Everybody wants him for a reason. So, yeah.
I'm excited for it. I would buy the next if the 7706 doesn't come with a firmware update to get it to, which I got to imagine it's not. I got to imagine they're going to make you have to buy something to get it.
I think
and then buy it again to get the base module.
The base module will be a firmware download.
Yeah. Right.
So, but you're going to have to pay to get Dirac, and then you're going to have to pay to get the base module. That's an unfortunate.
Right. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And I well, how do you compare Odyssey Pro? Because you have to pay.
I've not used it.
Right.
And I haven't used
Ralph
it because
Potts loves it. He's been telling me, he's like, you got to try that out. And I would like to try that out before I go to Dirac and then be able to compare them all eventually.
I'm sure it gives you just a little bit finer control of what Odyssey can do. And,
Mhm.
like I said, I think Odyssey does a great job. I used it for years and loved it. Never
Mm.
had a problem with it. So, um, and I liked D-Rack when I had heard it in action, but I never left a room saying, holy smokes, that was the most amazing thing ever
Right.
until I heard the bass module.
Oh,
The
really?
first time I heard a demo of the bass module, I had a meeting with Dirac at CES. So they had a room, they had like a hotel room set
Mhm.
off for meetings with 4 subs set up in this room. And they ran their Dirac live with bass module and without bass module. And it was like, it was one of those moments where you leave and you're just like, how can I get this? Like it was that
It sounds like you're getting subwoofers all over again. If
it
is
it
that a
just
little bit overreacting? But or
no,
it sounds
it
like that.
just it sounds it's like a new system the way it plays. They're just everything's tighter, it's more evenly dispersed, it's more in
Yeah.
control. It's just different. Not that Odyssey can't get you really close to that, but Dirac
Right.
does do it better. There's just and that's my opinion, but
Hey.
I think a lot of people agree with that. And I'm sure whatever Trenov does is probably just as insane,
Yeah.
right? Their proprietary stuff. So yeah, but that Odyssey package, a lot of people love it, the Pro
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should check that out.
I want
It's
to. I'm going to. When I get a chance to tinker and really like break down my room, like get a day to myself and be able to mess with it, I can't wait to do it.
yeah,
I just need that kind of time, and winter's coming and things slow down for me work wise. So that's when I just like, all
yeah.
right, well, it's too cold to work today, and let's tear some crap apart.
That's right.
Oh,
So I really enjoyed seeing those products. The other thing that I liked was this D box. Have you ever heard of D box?
I was hoping you had time for this. Yes, I have
Yeah.
heard of D-Box years ago. I looked into them. I'd heard about them before the first season of Mandalorian, like years before
Okay.
that. But when it became my consciousness again, is I heard that Mandalorian was going to be like you could actually watch the Mandalorian, and they had
You can.
flags in there or whatever in season 1. So that was a couple of years ago. But I've heard of that, and well, why don't you tell everybody what it's
Well,
about? But yeah,
they had they had a demo going on with a seating manufacturer called Jamar. So these are
hmm
essentially actuators. They almost look like a piston that
yeah,
are put into the foot columns of the
yeah,
chair.
yeah.
Um, they go through films frame by frame and program these 4 actuators to vibrate, to literally lift the chair side to side, front to back,
hmm
um, to mimic what's going on the screen,
Right.
essentially. Um, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah. It's to say it's like transducers on steroids isn't even fair
It's
because,
not.
like you said, it's like I mean, so for instance, like in the Mandalorian, if the ship goes to take off and they pitch, and
Mhm.
you pitch, and
Yes.
it's like I can't even imagine what this would be like on Top Gun Maverick,
Oh, it
where
would be so awesome. It
you're
would be
all
like,
you're already moving all
yeah.
by yourself. Can you imagine if your seat is moving you too? It's like, and I've heard about it, but again, like everything else, the price tag is
It's
just
so expensive.
it's so insane, and you feel like, well, maybe I could just do a couple of seats. But then it's not fair. It's not fair to everybody else in your room that's sitting there and you're like,
Exactly.
look at this.
You could get well, you obviously need room around your chairs, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess you could do an entire couch. They
Yeah,
did
you
have a
do.
2-seater couch. I yeah, I got to experience Baby Driver,
Oh, really?
and it was
Oh,
just awesome. Like he was
that's
going
an
around a
insane movie
corner.
anyways, but yeah.
Oh, I know. It was fun. I just uploaded a interview with one of their reps today.
Okay.
And there's a little video of me in the chair. They were like, "Hey, let's take your camera," and I was like, "Okay." The whole
Yeah.
thing's moving
Oh,
around, and it was fun.
so what is
It's
it
just
like? You pitch like the car is like leaning into the turns, or
oh yeah,
yeah, like
but
you're doing the whole
as
thing.
as the car was like going around a turn and the tires are kind of skipping. The chair is just like,
Oh God.
with the turn, like everything's happening all at
Yeah.
once.
And this is
It's pretty sweet.
integrated. You don't need a special player either. Like you don't need like this will go through your Kaleidoscape. It'll go through your Apple TV. It'll go through
Yep.
like the movies. There's a pass through, but it's if I remember right, it's like you don't need to have like you need this special D box to put your DVD in. It's or Blu-ray, I should say. But
All you need is a stereo down mix.
Mhm.
It feeds into the D-Box unit.
software,
Yeah, software, and the software identifies the audio and knows what to play or what to do.
yeah, and it has like how many titles? It's insane.
It said 2,500,
Yeah.
and even the new the House of Dragons
Mhm.
is getting programmed, and it looked very cool. Very cool. I'd love to have that in my home theater room, but the price, like you said, the pieces that they had on their floor, they didn't want to talk about it on camera. But my inclination, let's see, it was like 12 to 15 grand per chair or something like that.
That's what I thought.
Um,
I was going to say 15 grand, and it was like, but that includes the chair though for those ones. No,
Yeah, that includes these
The
J-Mark
chair.
chairs, which are
really
You know,
nice.
obviously
But
super
there
high
is an option. But by the time you're said and done, it's like you're looking at about probably 10 grand a chair if you bought your own chair, and then you add that. There's a lot of factors to it that
a lot of factors.
it's an end game product for sure. But I was happy to hear about them that they're still in business. I hadn't heard about them in a while, and that's
They
probably
had a lot
because of COVID.
activity.
It's probably
Yeah,
because of
probably.
COVID, and you don't
Probably.
have these events where people get to go and experience it. And that's like I said, it was probably a few years ago when they come back into the public consciousness, probably right around Cedia.
Yep. Yeah, they are in commercial theaters. They said,
Yeah.
which they're doing really well with. But they're also used in professional simulators.
Mhm.
And he told me that F1 drivers are using their D-Box systems in their trainers in their video trainers. And this guy I was talking to whipped out his phone and showed me a video. Forget the name of the driver, but he has a trainer in his home that's set up with D-Box, and someone had taken a like a cell phone video of this guy using it.
Yeah,
So it's serious business.
it is. It is. They're insane. And I want to say that when I can't remember where I heard it, but it sounds like you just saying that I'd forgotten about it, but now it starts coming back. I think they call it the D-Box. They're like, I got to go do some time in the D-Box.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I believe
And
it.
that's what they call these trainers. And I don't know if it was an F1 thing I was watching or it could have been something else, but they were like, I got to spend time in the D-Box. And that's because that's what it is. And it's because it's an all encompassing room that it's supposed to be all immersive to give you that feel.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, in our home theaters, if you have, again, it's one of those end game products that like, if you can
Yeah.
add this in and like, you hit the lottery or something.
It would be so sweet. You would need, my room is not big enough, I don't think, to have an array of chairs with it.
Yeah.
I'd need more width to my room. But yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It would be a lot of fun.
Don't worry about the electric bill.
I know. It's so true.
It's like it's like when you ask the gas mileage on your Ferrari. What's the gas mileage on this thing? If you have to ask,
Right. Yeah. How much
It's like-
the insurance
yeah.
for that?
So what's the echo rating on the D-Box? Yeah, I'm wondering how much is my electric bill going to change?
Right. Totally.
Oh.
Speaking of that, one of the other just super sweet things there at the show was the JBL synthesis, the Sw1 subwoofer. It's a 350-pound dual driver subwoofer. They're 15-inch drivers, 2 ports, and the cabinet is separated internally. So it's basically like 2 subs in one. It can be oriented on its side or laid on the ground. That thing is boss. I mean, it's everything you'd ever want in a sub.
Oh.
It ships in a crate. I actually saw one at this Steve Ellison's design house.
Well, you're
They
already
had-
getting 2 of those 8-foot ones or whatever the hell those were.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's another story. But the guys at this design house, they took me back into their warehouse to show me where they were programming all their smart home things, and it was pretty cool setup back there. But they had these giant wooden crates that carry these JBL subs, and the crate with the sub, it's like 540 pounds each. So synthesis, I mean, everybody knows that gear is like beyond legit because Harman pours everything they have into it. So they had their new speaker and subwoofer on display and in demo, along with all these kind of sister products like in walls and in ceilings that are part of the synthesis line. That's just fun stuff to see in here. I mean, I would love to say that's coming home, but there's no way. That's
yeah. Well, what size room do you need for that to really take advantage of it? I mean,
you need a big room.
Yeah.
It's got to be
more realistic, though. Can you tell me a little bit about the SVS in walls?
Yeah,
that shocked me. That really shocked me. I didn't know they were coming out with something like that.
Yeah, they've been. I don't know if they were publicly talking about it. But that's something that I knew was on the horizon. I think, I had them on to talk about how to pick out a subwoofer on AV Nirvana Live, like within the last month or so. And they kind of teased that they were going to be showing a prototype at a Dallas area get together that they were hosting. But they had it there. I guess it's now production worthy. It's integrator only, so you can't go out and just buy one through their website. So they're making this integrator channel, and it's pretty cool looking. It's got a separate rack mountable amp.
Yeah.
It has all their DSP controls and the app control and all that stuff. And you can stack it so it's. Nick is going to kill me for getting these figures wrong. I think they are 10-inch drivers.
Okay. I saw your video on it, you and Nick talking about it, and it's
one unit is like dual driver to I think they're 10-inch drivers, but you can stack it to be a 4-driver in wall in one bay of your wall.
See, I was thinking when I build my new theater, I'm not even joking. I would love to I want to have 4 subs, and I would put 1 in each corner of the room, and I'm building the room from scratch, so I designed the room just for those to go in there. And what's the output level of these things? Are they comparable to a 3000? Or are they comparable? Do you have any idea?
I don't think they're that strong as a 3000.
So maybe
they are a 3000 series sub.
Maybe a 2000, because I have 2000s now, and I'm thinking the size room I'm going to have, 2 2000s will work. So I've got to imagine 4 would be fine. I'm hoping they have the bass extension that I'm looking for, but
I'll see if I can dig up the
I can ask
numbers
Nick
on that.
You can ask Nick. I can ask Nick. But I was really surprised to see that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so that's their first foray into the integrator world. They've never been at Cedia before. It was neat to have them there. I hope next time they set up a demo space where they can show off some of their gear, because they had kind of like the static sub stack, and they had their speaker line out. They were showing off their brand new Pro Series wireless speaker, which I had reviewed the Soundbase wireless speaker, and the low end extension was just not quite there. It worked great with the sub, but and they were aware of that. So this new Pro Series speaker digs down a little deeper, and they have a new Soundbase amp module, streaming amp, which I have one of those that I use up in my kitchen, and it's a cool little device, and they can drive pretty big speakers, and this is like just a small little box.
You did a video on that, didn't you?
Yeah. I think I showed. I think I showed. Showed that. Yeah. That's a great product, and they're adding AirPlay and Chromecast on top of Play 5, which I think is a
Hmm.
really smart move on their part because Play-Fi, I mean, nobody really, you don't hear people talking about Play-Fi anymore. It's
I,
been buggy and,
yeah.
you know, I'm
I'm
glad to see Apple AirPlay come on and
yeah,
Chromecast also is cool.
yeah, that'll be cool. Cool. So I
Yeah,
didn't
so
know.
they were there. Gary was there. I don't know if you've ever met Gary.
Yeah, I was on
Uh,
his well, on video. I was
oh, were
on
you
their
on
I was on their happy hour.
a happy hour? Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Okay,
they had me on the happy hour. It was so funny.
awesome.
You didn't see it, Nick?
No, I have not.
Oh, Nick, I
I'll have
threw
to go
Nick
back
for
and
a
look.
loop. You got to go back and see it, right? And Nick, because he's like, they had been talking me up during the week, and that they do their promo videos, and they're like, he's always him and Nick and Larry are like, oh, he's always so enthusiastic. He brings so much energy, blah blah blah, right? So then I'm sitting, how when they bring you on, you're in the green room and you're sitting there watching, and he goes, oh, we'll bring DJ. He's got so much energy. So then he announces me. Now I talked to Gary a little bit before they started recording, very briefly.
Yeah.
And he just like, oh, thank you, DJ, for doing this, blah, blah, right? Okay. So we get into the room, we get into the show, and they're about to bring me on, and he talks me up like all this energy. And I'm laughing. I'm like, what are you doing to me, buddy? Right. And I go just like, he goes, how you doing, DJ? And I go, good.
That's great.
Larry
Yeah.
lost it. Larry knew right where I was going. Larry starts cracking up, and Nick goes just like this. He's like, he got nervous. And then Gary started laughing because Gary stopped for a second. Watch the video, watch all four of them. And they're like, or all three of them. And Gary starts crying. He goes, I like this. And I was like, guys, what are you doing? But
That's
Nick,
great.
I mean, I think his heart stopped for a second. Like, did DJ just freeze?
That's great.
Oh, it was so funny. So
That's a great team of guys.
it is. It is. They're a
Gary
blast.
Gary lives pretty close to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and last time I was talked to him, I was like, you can come on by and hear some of your gear in action. But I think he's like, yeah.
I think he's heard it.
I think so. He's like, yeah.
Oh, we sell speakers?
He's a good dude. Nick's been one of my favorite
Yeah.
guys in the PR space for a long. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of
Yeah.
really awesome.
Nick
PR
lives
folks
close
out
to
there.
me.
Mm-hmm. He does.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's right down the way we're like a half hour apart, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, it'll be
Yeah, he's a good, really good guy. His wife also is in the PR world.
Yes.
With Castor.
Yep.
And you always hear really good things about her too.
Yeah. It's a great meeting all these for me, it's great meeting all these people and yourself included, Todd.
Oh, thanks. And vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been in this a long time, and for you guys, I mean, we've become friends, and for this, it's just awesome for me. I can't wait to go like to Cedia with you and hang out and do all the fun things and bother you while you're trying to make your videos.
While I'm running around. Well, that's afterwards is the hangout.
Right.
Man,
No,
I'm
I
not
know.
kidding you. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 2 days in a row. I think I had maybe had 1/2 hour break built in to go eat, which
Right.
one day I missed. It was just, it's so fun, but man, I got back to my hotel room each night and it's just
Yeah.
like done. I don't want to look at anything. I don't even want to watch TV. I think the first night I fell asleep at 7:30. Woke up the next morning like 6.
That's
It's
awesome.
just a lot. It's like kind of like
Yeah.
being in a Vegas casino. There's like a lot of ambient noise and just all the interactions with people. You'll love it. Your energy level, as Nick has pointed out, is super high. So you'll just thrive, I'm sure.
I think my first year there, I'm going to use as like just to get the feel. I'm going to try because I'm watching what you're doing. I'm watching your videos and I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. And I only know a few people, so that'll work out. And then I'm hoping to meet people and just talk. And it's like, because I'm not like my forum, my topic isn't like you. It's like I'm not as informative. I'm more about like the experiences, and that's what I want to do. And that's
Well,
I
that's
think
what you
that's
could
what
talk
I'm going to
about.
do. Yeah, exactly.
You don't necessarily, I mean, yeah, you're not the type of person within your segment that's going to go and want to talk to people about all the new products they have coming out, right?
Right.
You're going to want to go and like go into that JVC demo
Mm.
and then come out. It'd be awesome if you had a camera and you set it up and just say, hey, this is where I'm at. this is the gear that's here. You can
Right.
show pictures of the gear and talk about what you just saw, because you'll be able to convey that to your audience and give them a feel of
Yeah.
what it's like to see the NZ9 throwing this massive picture up in this,
Yeah.
crazy room. I mean, I think there will be a lot there for you to talk about without having to worry about setting up appointments and,
Right. Yeah, just
all that stuff.
do my stuff off the cuff, having a good
Do your
time.
stuff.
And I'm hoping to meet some new people and get to
Yeah.
know people and be able
Yeah.
to bring them on. And that's what I like doing here. It's like I mean, I love SVS and their product, but I love Nick, I love Larry, I love meeting these people. Same with
Yeah.
Josh and Luke and meeting the people at all these different companies, Brent and Brett and Brett Bjorkwist. And
Oh, Brett, he's awesome.
and getting
He was
to
there. I saw Brett.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But just getting to know the people. And I think, and that's what I want to bring, that little bit of that different, and not just about the gear. Let's talk about and it really came from Brett coming on here and him talking the first time he was on with, I'm like, hey, go to AV Nirvana if you want to learn about the all the nitty gritty of the Kaleidoscape. But Brett, you tell me
Yeah.
about the company. And I thought that was a good mix. And that's why I think, to bring this all back around, I think that's why the green room's such a good mix on AV Nirvana. It's like we
Yeah.
have two different, all the nitty gritty you have there, and then, the experiences, the fun, and, the people is what I like.
For
So,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
And, you'll be surprised the more you get to know people. At least I'm surprised by this, is the fact that a lot of these folks do not have crazy systems in their home. I can't name names, but there's one person in particular that I met that you would expect would have the most insane home theater system possible. And I was like, tell me about your home theater.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm embarrassed to say I actually don't have one. I was like, what? What? And he was like, yeah, I have a TV with, 2-channel system, but
Yeah.
I don't have a home theater system. And
I
it
think we're
just,
talking about do I know him?
no, this is not someone that you know.
Okay. So there's
This is
people I
someone that,
know that there's a few people I know that are like that already.
yeah,
And you're like, really?
yeah, it's really interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and he's not the first like super high profile person
Hmm.
that should have the craziest systems, right? But
Isn't it just a matter of that's what they do for work? They don't need it. You know what I mean? Where it just becomes, in
maybe.
my experience, that's what I've found. It's they're like, this is what I do
So
for
are you
work.
telling me that you have chips all over your car?
Oh, actually, if you saw the front bumper on my truck, it got hit by the mail person, and I've yet to fix it. But it's something I do every day.
Oh.
So yeah,
Okay.
you can't really notice it. You have to walk up and go, "Why haven't you fixed that yet?" And people have said that. I'm like, ugh, and I really should. It sat there for a while because the postal company U.S. Post Office was supposed to pay for it, but I just
Right.
let it go. I didn't even bother pursuing it because I know I could fix it myself. They would have given me the money. But yeah, my cars, usually everybody looks at my cars and go, well, that's what you do for a living. That's why your car looks so good.
Right.
Well, kind of.
But you do, I'm sure you do feel some fatigue
Oh, yeah.
of looking at the car and being like, yeah, I'll take care of that later. Like, I definitely have moments where, after a day of thinking about home theater,
Mhm.
the last thing I really want to do is then go down and hang out in the home theater.
That's the hard part about doing what I do just with the podcast is
Yeah.
watching movies, and to have, I've finally been able to, when I first started out, I didn't have my wheels. I didn't know what direction I was going to go in. I kind of found a
Mhm.
direction, but then it kind of got to be a chore. And
Mhm.
now this mix that I have with John and with Steve, and then having guests like yourself and stuff, I've got this nice mix that I can go into my room and just sit down, and especially with the Kaleidoscape, just enjoy my content again and
Yeah.
not have it feel like I've got to get a show done for Friday because I was trying to create a consistency. And now things are rolling nice, and the feedback has been good. So I can enjoy my theater like I used to. Just bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm glad you found that. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, it's not fun when you feel like you're working when you're relaxing, right?
Right. And it's
Speaking DJ of Kaleidoscape, very cool what they brought out. An 88 terabyte
I know.
Terra server, and then the smaller, I think it's a 22
22.
terabyte.
22. That's the
the more miniature Terra,
that's the
compact Terra.
compact Terra, yeah. And then
Yeah.
the 88, which I got in touch with Josh the day they announced it for clarification, because I wanted a 24, because I know you have a 24. And
They're
that?
gone.
They did away with
They're
it.
not. They're just
Yeah, they did away with it, and I'm like, oh no, but they have the 22, and I'm like, okay,
Now
so
they-
maybe I'll do that. But I think I'm gonna end up with the 48. I think I'm
48.
making the
I
jump.
know.
But
I've been thinking about that too. Like, I'm running out of space.
are you on your 24 already?
I think I have about 50 more movies to buy before I'm out of space.
Yeah. Now,
And eventually, I'm just going to be like, okay, I need another.
see, I
need
wouldn't
another.
I wouldn't do an 88 yet, because I have a feeling tech is going to change by the time I'm going to need an 88.
Mm-hmm.
Just for do you know, like, just if you average a movie $24 on that 88, the movies to fill an 88, $36,000.
Really? Did you do that calculation?
Yeah, my buddy John and I did it. Like, when I told him about it, it holds 15,000, so $24 a movie, 15,000 movies, 1,500 movies on there is $36,000. It costs more for the movies on it than it does for it, because it's only 25.
You should have warned your viewers and listeners to cut the volume. That's not something you want broadcasting throughout a house or a car.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know, huh?
That's a lot of money. I mean,
But just
I've never
the
gone
movies.
through and added up what I've spent on movies over the years, but I'm sure it's just a ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's ridiculous. But yeah, and the 48. My original plan was to get a 24 in conjunction with the 12 that I already have. But now I want to
Right.
get the 48, and I'll just sell my 12, and that I
Right.
mean I'll have 48, and that'll be at least a couple of years. I think. I hope.
Mhm.
Fingers crossed.
They probably found that people weren't buying the 24, right? Or the people
Well, it was
that
too
wanted more
close.
space.
It was
Yeah,
too close, and the Terra. I'm just guessing here too. I like the Terra, the larger system with the hard drive manipulation. So you have that RAID system. It basically has its RAID system, where the compact doesn't. But you can get a 22 compact. I think they found a popularity there with the compact system. And then if you want to get to the Terra, what are you getting a 24 for? So
Right.
it looks like they're streamlining their system, really.
Yeah.
And I like the way it goes from here. You have the 6 as an entry level, and then that gets you in, and it's like once you get a taste of it, you're moving on up. It's once you get in there, it's but that's the thing.
It's dangerous.
Isn't it?
It's dangerous. Actually, let's see what time it is. I got a couple more minutes.
Okay.
That reminded me of another product that I thought was really cool. It's this modulus M2
Okay.
player. So it's like a Zapiti.
Yep.
But now maybe you can tell me differently about Zapiti. But with this modulus player, it has a 4K drive, disc drive, so you can rip your 4K movies, Blu-ray movies, DVDs.
Interesting.
You can also it also performs as a DVR. So you can integrate it with your cable box or satellite dish or whatever.
Record your content.
You can record your content. It also saves movies that you have purchased from streaming. So if you
Right.
purchase like Apple TV content, you can save that onto this drive. Does Zapiti do all of those?
Yes and no. Yes, you can. There's ways to do it, but there's no way to actually, and I'd be interested to see what this, I wanted to ask you about that one as well. What I found interesting about it is, so Zapiti had a 4K ripper They had their own NAS system. It was a Sapedi NAS, and it looked just like a NAS drive, but it had a slot to put your Blu-ray in. It'll rip it, and it would rip it in like 7 minutes. Something ridiculous. It's just like whoop, and you're like, oh, geez, great.
That's awesome.
Can't do it in the States anymore. So I'd be interested to see what that company is going to go through, because Kaleidoscape went through it. They were in court for years and years ago. Zapedi was just shut. Their NAS system was just shut. You can still get a Zapedi, but you can't get their ripping system. The copyright stuff on that one that you were just talking now outside this country, Zapedi's out of France, I think, and all of these countries outside this country, there's different limitations on the laws on these copyright. They're a lot looser outside the United States. It's once you own it, you own it. Do whatever you want to do with it. You could burn it, you can rip it, you can do whatever you want to do with it, right?
Right.
In the United States, they're a lot tighter on that. And actually, like, I have OBS right here. I could play like every episode of The Mandalorian, record it in OBS, and put it onto my Zapedi. Now, it's not going to be 4K. It's not going to be Atmos. There are ways to do it. That's a very rudimentary way, just like what we used to do with our tape decks, putting them up against each other, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Now, what this system is that you're talking about, I don't know. What's the proprietary things that they have going on?
I had the same thoughts. We did not get into it. It's a product that I'm hoping I'll get in my hands at some point. They literally, for that show, they literally were like hot off the press with these units. In fact, the guy that I interviewed, he had only been around the production version for like 2 hours when I went up to him.
Really?
Yeah, that was right at the beginning of the show. I had this narrow window and I just ran over. I was like, hey, show me what you got here. And it was fascinating to look at the interface menu system was really well done. My big question was not understanding how you can save movies that you've purchased through Apple onto this system, because you don't really own that movie.
No.
You own access to the license.
Right.
But Apple sometimes loses those licenses. And he said, yeah, if they lose the license and you have it on your drive, you keep it.
Yeah.
So I had the same thoughts as what you're asking about. And it's just I didn't have time to get into it.
What are the legal issues? I got to imagine they're going to run into some, because now if you're now say this has a in the background system running that it records it, right? Say you bought Iron Man, right? And you have that on Apple iTunes. Right. And you say, I want that. So in the background, it goes hit play and record. And now here's your copy of it. Right. It's a very, like I said, it's a rudimentary way, but I'm just spitballing here. Can I now sell that to you? Then this is where it's going to get sketchy. That's where Kaleidoscape got in trouble. And it's like, and that's where Zapedi, like now I have a Zapedi. I have hard drives filled with movies that I'm like, Todd, would you like a copy? You could do it if you wanted to. That's where they would get in trouble. But for people to be able to do this, from what I heard with Zapedi even in the States, it's so difficult for anybody to do this. The system you'd have to take a copy of I could send you Top Gun Maverick. Here you go. Or I could put it on a hard drive and ship it to you, right? Here you go, on a flash drive. Here you go. But the system you would have to redo it. It's such a niche system. They're not chasing these people down. Right. Because like, who has this ability? It's so much.
It's the people that are uploading it for free onto the internet are the ones that they're mainly going after. But it's funny. And they also, so their top model was 80 terabytes and you can add on external drives of your choice. So
80 terabytes is a lot. That's do I have an 80? I might be up to 80, but I'm running a RAID system, so I lose a 16. So I think I have 5 16s, 16 terabytes. So whatever that is.
Well, they told me they have a guy out in LA that uses their original modulus player, and he has like 300 terabytes. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get my hands on this thing and try it out.
Yeah.
Um,
That would be, yeah.
because the price range was like 8 to 11 grand. So I think the very top model, the 80
Wow.
terabyte model, is about $11,000, which makes it really competitive.
I'd love to see
Uh,
what the quality is of what you're getting now. Are you getting a 1-for-1 off of iTunes?
I think I believe it's bit for bit.
Interesting.
So yeah,
what-
there's a lot of
there's
lot
got to
of
be
questions there.
licensing at that price point. Maybe they have the licensing. I don't know. That's interesting.
It could be. I'm talking to him right now, so I'm hoping to work something out, and we'll see where that goes. So that would be a lot of fun to play around with.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a good one. It's like that's it. It would be a competitor to Kaleidoscape.
Theoretically, yeah. I mean, Kaleidoscape still has
They have other
quality.
features, right? They have,
yeah. I mean, they offer you unfettered access to the best of the best copy.
mhm.
Even though some people out there point out they don't always have like the Atmos version
Correct.
of the soundtrack, but they still have lossless audio.
Right.
And they told me, look, they don't have control over that.
Right.
It's not like they're like, yeah, we're going to downgrade here. It's what the studio is
Correct.
offering them and what the studio feels most comfortable giving them. So
That's what I went
It is
through
what
with
it is.
Carl on Tuesday. He has this director that he really likes or something, and he's like, "Why doesn't Kaleidoscape have that?" And I was like, "Do you think it's because Kaleidoscape said no to them, or do you think it's
Right,
the
they're-
studio isn't providing it, whatever studio they're with?" It's Kaleidoscape wants all this stuff, just like anybody, any of these.
yeah.
It's what they get, and I think there's some marketing going on there with the studios. Like, okay, we'll
Oh,
give
yeah.
this to Kaleidoscape, and we'll give this to the disc, and it's getting people like me to buy both,
Right.
and they're double, and that's fine. I get it. It's a business model, and I think they're doing great. I don't know how they're doing, but it looks like both sides. Kaleidoscape's doing well, studios are doing well, things are selling, and
Well, they definitely, I mean, they had 30 vendors using their equipment
yeah,
at Cedia, and it was literally everywhere. Every demo space that I went to had Kaleidoscape.
Yeah.
So,
and that plays
I-
to their quality and their ease of use. I can't. That's one of the things that blew me away about putting what. So you get like these vendors. I need these movies. Boom.
mhm.
Boom. You got it in a suitcase. You plug it in. You're done. Right. You don't need the internet. It's already on there. You just come. You go to the show. You plug it in.
Yeah.
You're ready to rock. And there's no disc change. There's no. So and you're getting the
Nothing.
best quality for somebody like a Trinov to be like, here, we're going to play this through here. And they're not the weak link in the chain. That's
Right.
the point. And they're super easy to use for integrators like this at these shows. It's, that's stuff that we don't really get to take advantage of because we put it into our system. Once it's set up, we're done with it, right? But these
Right.
integrators, they're going from show to show to show, and they're like, boop, 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 and they're getting
Right.
the best quality.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm rooting for him. Obviously, I know you are too.
Can you tell?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those products. I mean, once you have it, it's so easy to like. You almost sound like a shill when you talk about it. But it's
I
just
know.
one of those products that is that good.
Yeah. All my
know
listeners
what
are
else-
right now going, that's what DJ sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like a shill. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those
Yeah.
things that it just is what it is. It's just really good. Unfortunately, it's just really expensive.
Yeah.
But that could change as we get further down the road. I have no idea. I have not heard anything from them
No.
to indicate that. But I mean, they do offer the Strato S
Not,
still, right?
not anymore. They don't.
Oh,
They just,
Strato-
that's
Oh, they
discontinued.
just-
That was
Oh, so it's just-
discontinued last year.
oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's now just Terra.
But
Across
you
the
can
board?
get the S online. And
Okay.
I think I have to imagine, and Brett didn't tell me this. I didn't even say it to Brett, but I'm like, I got to imagine that was part of their marketing. Like, we'll put out this S for like 6 months to a year, however long it was in existence. But guess what? Now that's in the stratosphere. It's out on eBay. Once you get that taste, go get yourself an S, try it out, and then
It's
you
like-
upgrade to the Terra. They don't need to sell any more of them because they're being utilized much
Yeah.
like their burner. they have a DVD that you could put in and get a discount on their it's not a burner per se, but you put your Blu-ray in and you can now buy the Alto, right? That's in circulation, right?
Right.
So they know the game, and they're I think that's part of the system. I've always said that I think that when they can get the infrastructure to be able for everybody to be the masses to be able to download the movies at the rate that they're downloading them, that's when you'll see the price come down. I think that the price point is one, licensing, and this is just me guessing, but you know what it's like to download with a Terra system.
Yeah.
If more people had this, if you doubled the amount of people that have this, all of a sudden the suck on their infrastructure would be so great that maybe it wouldn't perform as well. So I think that when they can get that infrastructure, they'll lower some price points, and then it'll help with that. So
unless their sales are already so healthy that it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
We know, we were talking about this last time. There are products where the high price people ignore, and they want it. The high price is actually part of the attraction, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So
to guys like you and I, it's a hurdle that we have to overcome. To other people, that there's a market out there that goes, oh well, okay, I'll get that one because it's that much, and that's it. I used to buy speaker cable like that because that was in my price. Like, oh, this has got to be good, or like a 10-foot speaker cable for $150. It's got to be better than the spool.
Right. Wrong.
No, exactly. So
with some caveats, but generally wrong.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
right. Exactly. Speaker cable, all those cables, and Monster made a fortune off of us. And then I've said it since podcasting started, and you got to listen to guys like AV Rant and HD guys, and people can tell you the facts that are, and they're not trying to sell you on anything. And that's why I'm not trying to sell people on Kaleidoscape. I just talk about it because I love it. And it's, if you want one, go get one. But you listen to people talk about from their experiences and their product. And I think podcasting did a lot for the marketing that it's changed the marketing of a lot of these people, because Monster can't just put an ad in Home Theater Magazine or tell you that these are the best ones because they cost you $400. We bought into it because we didn't know any better.
Right.
And now the knowledge is out there. Yeah.
Cheap stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it's 6:10. Okay.
I know, you got to get going.
One more thing.
As long as it's you that's
one
saying
thing, one video that I'm going to release soon is a little chat with Surge X, who's a power surge manufacturer. And, for all your listeners out there, that's something that I do think should be taken more seriously. It's worth the extra coin. They use advanced modes. Do you know this?
No,
advanced series mode protection.
Okay.
It's non-sacrificial. I think that's what it's called.
Right.
They're going to kill me.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about though. It's like I have UPSs in my line, and I'm looking for that protection where that would take it. I'm actually looking at getting a new one that was Tom Andrew talked about on AV Gadgets, and
these aren't UPSs. I mean, they do make the UPS, but there's like 3 companies that make. I do not have Surge X. I purchased, it was either Brick Wall or something called Power X, but I mean, the kind of surge protection that these devices offer just blow away anything, especially when you have expensive equipment like you do.
Yeah.
It's worth spending, the $400 or $500 to make sure that nothing's going to get through. And it's also, just the little dings that your system takes from when the refrigerator compressor turns on, and that dirties up the line. And these things just take a toll on your equipment. But Surge X is expensive. There are other options out there that have licensed what Surge X uses, and Surge X has their advanced version of I'm pretty sure it's called Power Mode.
But it's it's
Someone out there is probably shouting right now.
Yeah, it's creating a more consistent flow of power to your system, and it's protecting it at the same time. So if you're watching a movie and your refrigerator happens to kick on at the same time you get a big bass scene, you're going to be able to still hear your bass scene without any, interference.
There's no MOV in there to blow up. These can take infinite hits, and I got a little video. They have this machine called a Big Bertha that is zapping. It's like a lightning strike. It's something like, I don't know, 300,000 volts or something like that. And they have their surge protector taking the hit, and there's video monitors that are plugged into the surge protector, right? So the hit happens, and they've been using these same monitors for something like 10 years or something ridiculous. And then on the other side, they have the MOV in this like cylinder, and that takes the hit. Smoke is coming out, and they open it up, and you can see like what would happen if that was your, that's one of those pieces of equipment that I think is worth saving up for and buying. It's painful. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's not something that you ever show off to a friend or really even think about after you plug it in. But
way to go out on a high note, Todd. You turned into an insurance salesman.
There you go. Well,
let's wrap up on insurance.
$1,000 in your
Yeah. No, but you're right.
I mean,
you're right.
Your processor, I mean, you really want to protect all that gear and make sure it's going to perform optimally and that little power surges aren't getting through.
So. It is. It's one of those things that, like you said, as you get more in gear, higher end gear, and you're like, you blow out your $500 receiver. Well, you're not going to spend a $500 to protect your $500 receiver.
Exactly.
You know, but you add more gear, you got amplifiers, you've got all this stuff going through here, and you can protect that. It's well worth it because, again, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and if your strongest links just went poof.
Right.
You're not doing too well.
Exactly. So, John, if you don't buy the NZ9,
yeah,
or if you do buy the NZ9, whatever you do for the NZ8, definitely buy SurgeX or Brickwall or one of the other brand that I use, and I can't even remember the name. But you want to project. You want to protect that projector. Absolutely.
All right, so, I will cut the cord, wrap it up. We'll go from here. As always, Todd, we always allot a certain amount of time. We always go over.
Yeah, we did. 45 minutes over.
I just contact you.
Still light up.
I know. You got to go for a hike. I know.
Yeah.
Even our texts you've given me the code. So I know what it's like when you see a text from me, you're like, oh crap, this is going to take 3 hours. I'm not stupid. I know people plan their drives around me to call. My own father calls me 5 minutes before he gets to his next destination so he can shorten the conversation with me. I get it, but always a pleasure. Always
I'll
fun.
Also get my walk in tonight.
All right, you get your walk in. Thank you very much. We'll be back talking Top Gun, you and I, very soon.
Oh, that's right.
Coming out. It's now we really have to get to it. So only a few weeks away. We got to sit down again. So plan your schedule, your walks, and everything you got to do, and you tell me when we can do it, and we're gonna do it.
Top Gun,
and Iron Eagle.
We'll do it. We'll do it before the disc release.
There's a disc release. I'm talking about it in the podcast, but I also noticed if you go on, I think there's an early release on the 31st. There's a steelbook says it's coming out the day before. I don't know if that's a typo, but I wanted to alert my listeners. I put it in my 4K releases for this week because I saw it on blu-ray.com that on the 31st of October.
Pick it up in steelbook.
That's on that Monday. So
it's a good one. Must own.
That's the high note we're going out on. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Anytime. Thanks to Todd. Thanks to everybody for listening, following, watching, all this fun stuff. Look at that. We're having special reports now. Lots more to come. If you liked what you saw here, hit the subscribe button, whether it's on YouTube, whether you're on iTunes, Spotify, all those fun podcast providers. leave a review, do all that fun stuff. But I'll be back on Friday, John and I, with our regularly scheduled podcast. That one's going to go long too, so that's why I couldn't fit this one in. And then next week, more Cedia through the experiences of one of the listeners, John Brock, his first time at Cedia. So that's coming out next Tuesday. So have fun, have a great week. I'll be back on Friday, and go push play.
Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.